Hi, I'm Scott from Airshot Media, and this is my 2018 LDV T60. So there's plenty of reviews around at the moment on the LDV T60s, and I think that's purely because people are starting to become really interested in these as a as a work ute, as a daily driver, and certainly as a competitor to things like the Hilux, the Navaras, the Tritons, and the Ford Rangers out there. I thought, having owned mine now for 79,000 Ks, 3 years since brand new, that I might have a good perspective from the front to the back, inside and out, about the goods, I guess the pros and the cons of the LDV T60. So in case you don't know, the LDV is a 2.8 litre single turbo diesel engine. They're 110 kilowatts, which equates to about 145 horsepower. They're not a massively powered engine by any means, but on saying that, they're a ute. They're not a sports car. They're designed to be used as a ute. When I bought mine, I bought it from Parramatta LDV. I certainly got a few extras put on, which bumped the price up to about 38,000 drive away. It is the Lux version, so it's there's only two models. You've got the Pro or the Lux, and it's the more expensive one. It does come with the leather seats, but some of the extras I got added were things like the tonneau cover. I got a tow bar included, floor mats, and I also got the bigger wheels, and I got a lift kit put in it. So 3-inch in the rear, 2.5-inch in the front. So it has this really nice sort of raked look to it, which I really like. Some people may not be a fan of it, but I like it. And when I tow our race car around on the back, it certainly levels out the car, so it tows really nicely. So starting from the inside of the car, I don't think you can go wrong really in terms of the comfort factor. In the rear, there's plenty of headroom for rear passengers. You can easily fit 3 people, probably my size, and I'm a fairly sizable bloke, across the back seat, and you're not going to be bumping heads or rubbing shoulders too much. There are 3 seat belts across the back, no lap sashes, etc. And of course, it's all leather in the back as well. The rear seat folds down, but the bottom of the seat also folds up, so you can have either way around if you want to sort of put a fridge in the back and you don't have any passengers, or if you want to access in behind the rear seat, etc. So one of the hot topics is actually the infotainment system. So it does have CarPlay in it, Apple CarPlay, and I actually did have an Android initially, and it was just too hard to use with the system that came in the 2018 version. I don't know if they've made it better in the later models, but certainly it certainly has been glitchy at times, but generally I don't have too many problems. A lot of people find that when you put it in reverse, that sometimes the reversing camera ends up glitching out with the reverse guidelines smearing across or not coming up clearly. I find if you start the car and just let it run through a cycle, which is about, 7 or 8 seconds really, let the logo load up, that I've not had an issue when I put it in reverse with the reversing camera. If you start the car and put it into reverse straight away, you tend to sometimes get a glitchy camera. Something I've done, which I've done another review, and I'll put the link in the description below, is I've added a wireless CarPlay adapter. This is it down here, and it's called a CarLinkit 2.0, and it simply plugs in over here where, I don't know if you can see that, but it plugs in over here where the Apple CarPlay cord would normally go. The reason I've done that is it allows me to have a cradle over here, which if I put my phone up there, which then wirelessly charges from the other port. So I've got wireless charging and then I've got the wireless CarPlay. So when I go into my CarPlay, if I click CarPlay, it brings up CarPlay. Obviously everything works as normal, including music, etc. So everything works fine, works really well, and it allows my phone to charge on the cradle. As I said, the reason I like that is it actually allows me to be able to take my phone out of the cradle. Let's say, it sounds silly, but if I'm at the drive-thru at Macca's and I'm getting a coffee and I want to use my loyalty app, I don't have to disconnect the cord. So it's only little things, but it works for me, might not work for everybody. So we're currently on a bit of a road trip, and as you can see, we've done 1,717 kilometers. I reset the fuel economy at the start of this trip just to sort of see how we go. Now, there has been a lot of mountain driving and hills and ups and downs and so forth, but there's also been some highway driving. Our fuel economy has been 10.4 litres per 100 kilometres, which I don't think that's wonderful, but it's certainly not as bad as it could be either. Now, only thing I can put it down to, because I've seen other people who get 7.7 litres per 100 Ks, only thing I can put it down to is my slightly larger tyres and wheels. But I'm not too worried about it. I sort of think it's fairly average in terms of fuel. Another thing I invested in straight away when I bought the LDV T60, and I'll put the link to this in the description as well, because we did a review on this, but was an iDrive. Now the iDrive I think is a must in these. It doesn't give you more power, it just gives you more throttle response. And I basically leave it on U6, which it goes right up to 9. I think U9, when you're in the wet, because these are so light in the rear, I think they're light in the rear, you tend to get a bit too much wheel spin on damp roads, and if it isn't loaded up in the back. So I keep it on U6, and that seems to work pretty well. In terms of trim and finish, I don't think it's too bad. I haven't had any problems with the carpet. Some people have had issues with the carpet maybe popping outside of the plastic trim in near the center console. I haven't had that issue, but I do use floor mats. But yeah, the plastic, I mean, it's plastic. It's no different to any other sort of work ute. But I think the trim is actually all right. It holds up pretty well. Mine's pretty grubby at the moment because we've been away and it's in need of a clean. But it all seals up reasonably nicely. The roof lining is probably a little bit industrial, but certainly cleans easily if you get a little bit of cleaner on it. It's not one of those material ones that stain easily. Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with the trim all in all. One thing that did happen was, and I got this replaced under warranty, actually 3 things I got replaced under warranty in the front. One was the steering wheel. It started to chip away a little bit just at the back of the steering wheel, like somebody had dug nails into it and taken a couple of chunks out. The other thing was the passenger side Jesus grip, as we like to call it, and also the passenger side vanity mirror. The springs in those became loose, and I only got them replaced probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So after, what's that, nearly 3 years, they'd become a bit loose, and that wasn't a problem with warranty at all. Probably brings me to the point in terms of service and warranty. I've not had an issue at any point to get anything replaced. I've also had a radiator replaced, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but I've had the steering wheel, those internal the internal mirror and the Jesus grip all replaced, and an intercooler hose replaced as well. And I've not had one issue by the dealer I go through in terms of getting things replaced. So I've been very happy with the service, and I don't know if it's worth a plug to them, but that's at LDV Glendale near Newcastle. So underneath the bonnet, I guess I've had 2 things replaced underneath the bonnet, and one was the radiator and one was an intercooler hose which split. Now the intercooler hose, I sort of got onto it pretty quickly. It took a few weeks for one, or a couple of weeks for one to come in, and then they replaced it. I do worry, to be quite honest, that it will split again. I don't think they're a high quality hose, and I think it really sucks in. So I'm doing this myself, so I can't really show you, but I'll show you the hose. But when you actually put your foot down on the accelerator, the hose sucks in. So it gets all this movement of just sort of, because it sort of sucks in and out, you end up with the hose flexing, and eventually it just weakens and splits. Now I know I'm not the only one who's had that happen, so probably something I'd consider, and something I just haven't done yet, is I would consider getting a solid intercooler pipe. So this is the intercooler hose just here. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but you know, you can actually just see it's even got a little bit of oil on it, to be quite honest. But it just flexes so much, and it's very, so when you actually accelerate, it sucks in like this. And I think that's what sort of weakens it eventually, just from heat and flex, and you end up having to replace it. Well, I've had to replace mine. I'm not sure how many other people have. The other thing I've had to replace was the radiator. A lot of people complain about overheating on the T60s, and I've got to say I'm probably in that camp as well. All in all, I've never gone to the red line on the temperature gauge, but it's certainly come close, and that's only when I've ever been towing and going up a really long and big hill. You tend to have to drop back down through the gears, and if you keep your foot planted, it overheats, or it heats up, I should say. It's never gone into limp mode or anything like that for me, but it was sort of starting to happen fairly regularly, and we were towing a lot. So when I went to LDV, I did actually sort of request that I think it needed a new radiator. They did some tests on it and they agreed, and they replaced it. So I haven't done as much towing since, but I have to say that it certainly hasn't had the same heating issues. But if I do hit a really long hill, it still does get hot. The advantage is that it cools down very quickly on the other side. So the minute you come over the top of a hill and start on the decline, the whole thing cools down within seconds, to be quite honest. Within a minute, you go from being quite hot down to just normal temperatures. So I've recently just painted the grille and the front nudge bar, as well as the sports bar and the roof rails. Just painted them black because I think that's a much nicer look on certainly for my car anyway, with the black wheels. I'd still like to probably paint the mirrors and the little chrome bits on the rear tail, on the rear bar, but otherwise I think I'm just about happy with how it looks at the moment. One of the things I do have is I have this nice big King's light bar. If you're getting one of these, the King's ones aren't plug and play. You have to get them hardwired in, and the way mine was done is it's sort of done in through the fuse box here and over here, but basically they put a double fuse in and it links straight off the high beams. Okay, in terms of the rear tub, the only problem I've had really is the paint wearing where I've got the tonneau cover put on now. I don't think that's an LDV issue. I think that's really just the way mine's been installed, and unfortunately it's rubbed the paint underneath the little elastic straps. Something that I'll get fixed, but yeah, it's a bit of a pain. The tub line is really good. That came standard in the ute and certainly helps protect the rest of the tub. The anchor points are a little bit hit and miss depending on where you connect. The ones at the top, these ones are really just sort of latched in behind the actual plastic, so they will break easily. These other ones in the corners here, they actually are the ones that you would tie down to. So the big question is, LDV T60, why should you get one, or why should you not get one? I mean, I haven't driven a Ford Ranger. I don't own one. I've never owned a Hilux or a Triton, etc. I did have a look at a couple when I was looking at this. And what I can say is value for money. What you get in these really is why you would consider getting one of these. I think most people have to get out of their mind this idea now of a Chinese ute and all that sort of, you know, the rubbish in the back of your mind there. Most cars these days, componentry, regardless, comes from China. Yes, it has a couple of glitches, but I do believe that the new version, the twin turbo version coming out, sounds like it's going to be a very well-rounded ute. And would I upgrade to that eventually if I still needed a ute? 100%. I'm very confident in the LDV brand, and I've been very, very happy with it. Do yourself a favor and get a couple of upgrades. Get the iDrive. I don't know whether you need a power chip. Some people have, some people haven't. I do like the wireless Apple Play or CarPlay. And I do think that maybe I would get a lockable tub. That's just something that I would use a little bit more rather than the tonneau. As well as maybe upgrading the suspension. But I think the trail riders certainly come out with upgraded suspension now. I've loved this ute. I'll still continue to love this ute. I think the fact that, you know, I'm happy to paint bits and pieces of it. If I had a $70,000 Hilux or Ranger, I don't think I'd be customizing it the way that I've customized this one. I'd be too scared of the devaluing of that. These are still selling for good prices, so I'm happy that I'm not going to lose out on too much money because I didn't spend too much to start with. So I hope that's helped you out. Feel free to ask any questions below, and hopefully I might be able to answer those or do another review down the track.